Officially, good evening, everyone. My name is Sherri Morris, and I have the pleasure of serving as the administrator who oversees the district's Future Teachers program. Welcome to tonight's information session, and thank you for your interest in Future Teachers and for taking the time to spend with us this afternoon. I am joined off screen, most likely, by my colleague, Dr. Sarah Brierton. Dr. Brierton has videoed in for us. She knows that I like to call her lovingly my Wizard of Oz. She will be working technology behind the scenes so that I'm able to focus on sharing information with you. So Dr. Brierton, thank you so much for your assistance this afternoon. And we will, with that, begin sharing our presentation slides and jumping straight into a quick look at our agenda. And Sarah, you can move forward 2 slides, I think. We are going to take just a really quick overview of what you can expect to learn this evening. The teacher in me knows that you need to know what to expect. So we'll start with 5 key questions that by the end of the evening or by the end of our time together, I hope that you have satisfactory answers to. So these are the 5 topics that we'll cover: a quick overview of the Future Teachers program. We'll talk about who's eligible to apply, why you should consider applying, what are the benefits of being a future teacher, what is expected of our Wake County Schools future teachers, and then finally, how do I apply if indeed this session piques your interest and you're interested in applying for the program. I would ask that as a courtesy to all of our attendees this evening, we are scheduled to have a fairly large group, that you do keep microphones muted during the presentation portion of tonight's session, as you have all done, now being experts on virtual meetings after the last 2 years that we've all spent on Zoom and Google Meet and other platforms such as this. We do have the chat feature available to each of you, so that if you do have questions, you can certainly put those in the chat. I'm hopeful that the majority of your questions will be answered through our presentation time, through the slides that I have to share with you. But of course, if there are questions that are not addressed or you need additional clarification, certainly use the chat feature for those questions, and we will use the time that we have at the end of our conversation this afternoon to address as many of those questions as time permits. So jumping in here, let's start with a quick overview of what is the Future Teachers program. That's a logical place to start, I think. Future Teachers, I can share with you, began in Wake County Schools. It is unique to my knowledge to Wake County Public Schools in 2015, and it was developed as a unique take on a grow your own type program. It's a strategy, honestly, for helping our district to fill teaching positions in our highest needs teaching areas. Future Teachers is, as you can see on the slide, designed to capitalize on and develop internal teaching talent of our high school students, high school seniors that are going into education. You'll see in a few more slides that we also have now opened the Future Teachers program up to education majors at our local colleges and universities who are in their freshman and sophomore years. We'll touch on that a bit more as our slides progress. Ultimately, the goal of the Future Teachers program, when we think about what we would like a future teacher alumni to look like at the end of their time in our program as they are getting ready to teach with our district, we simply want our future teachers to be model educators. They are exemplary educators, outstanding in their field, and committed specifically to the beliefs, the values, and the vision of Wake County Public Schools. We are developing teachers for this district and embracing them through their journey from student to Wake County Schools teacher. I do want to share with you a bit of the impact that the program has had thus far. I would point out that Future Teachers is certainly an investment. It's a longitudinal type investment in our students because it does take as many as 4 years, sometimes 5 if you're on a slightly extended program, as I was for my undergraduate degree. It does take us a little while from admission into Future Teachers to graduation and higher, but as of today, we have 38 Wake County Schools classrooms that are taught by students that are taught by future teachers that have come through our program. We also have another 85 students who are active participants in Future Teachers. And what I mean by active participant is that they are still in their college preparatory programs. Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and even a few students that are pursuing their master's degree. So we have 85 in our pipeline, if you will, that upon the completion of their teacher ed programs will be hired as teachers with our district. The application eligibility, let's look at who can apply to the program. I mentioned this earlier, but our primary recruitment sources for future teachers, there are 2 of them. The Wake County High School seniors, our graduates, our own internal talent who are planning to go into education. And then we also opened the program up to freshman and sophomore education majors at our local universities who are in their freshman and sophomore years. There are 10 specific, licensure areas that Future Teachers focuses on, and those 10 licensure areas are highlighted on your screen. As I mentioned previously, this is a recruitment strategy specifically aimed at hiring and filling positions in our most high needs areas, the areas where we have the highest volume of vacancies from year to year. And so students who are planning to become licensed and teach in one of the 10 licensure areas that you see on your screen are eligible to apply for admission into the Future Teachers program. Why should I apply? I mean, that's the big question, right? What's in it for me? The upside for the district is clear. We have the chance to develop and hire highly qualified teachers, a grow your own model, as I mentioned before. But there are also some benefits for the students who participate as future teachers, and you can see some of those listed for you on the next slide. Early hire agreements for teaching jobs with the district. We'll touch on that a little more when we move to our next slide. Also, some professional learning opportunities that are unique to, they are tailored to the needs of Wake County Public Schools. And then the final 3 are fairly self-explanatory. I think it is an opportunity for our future teachers to build a professional learning network with their peers, as well as with experts, leaders, administrators in the Wake County Public School system, even while they are in college. They receive support from our Human Resources Office during their time in the program. And then the other thing that we do provide for our future teachers as they prepare to graduate from college and begin to start looking for teaching positions with the district, we promote those future teachers to our schools as alumni of our Future Teachers program. And so we try to embrace students, we try to develop them, nurture them, and promote them to make sure that they have the support that they need to make the transition, many of them from Wake County Schools high school student to college student to Wake County Public Schools teacher. I mentioned a moment ago our early hire agreements, and I wanted to highlight that particular bullet for you just a bit more, because I think it's one of the big draws of our program. The early hire agreement is a guarantee of employment for a teaching position with Wake County Public Schools once the student completes the teacher education program and is eligible for licensure in one of the 10 areas that we mentioned before. The early contract does not assign students to specific positions or to specific schools within the district. They do still go through the employment application and interview process, and we see that as a benefit. We afford them the same flexibility and discretion as any other applicant to the district. I always use myself as an example. I happen to live in Wake Forest. If you're familiar with Wake County, you know that's fairly north and east in our district. I would not be particularly pleased, based upon where I live, to be assigned to a school, to a teaching position in Fuquay-Varina. Now, that is not anything against Fuquay-Varina. We have amazing schools there. That's not at all why I make that comment. It's simply a distance issue. Fuquay is pretty far south in our district, and so I can anticipate that my drive in the morning from Wake Forest to Fuquay would be probably an hour-ish, if not a little more, depending on traffic. So that's just one example of why we feel it's important for students to have the discretion to apply to the schools geographically, the calendar options that they prefer, rural, suburban, more urban. You know that Wake is a very diverse district. And so we do have the ability for our students to apply and to interview with our schools to receive their employment offer within the district. The early contract, that guarantee of employment, is good for a 5-year period of time. That 5-year clock starts when the early contract is signed. We allowed 5 years rather than 4, simply because we know it does take some students longer than the traditional 4 years to complete their undergraduate program. And it also allows some flexibility if students wish to pursue master's degrees. If the student does not seek employment with us within that 5-year window, the guarantee does become null and void. However, that does not mean that they're ineligible for hire in our district. Simply the guarantee is good for that 5-year window that the early contract is in effect. The other big piece, the benefit that I wanted to spend a couple of moments talking with you about this evening is the professional learning that I mentioned to you previously. It is very tailored to our district. We know that our universities and colleges do a fantastic job of preparing students to become teachers. And certainly the professional development, the professional learning that Wake County Schools provides is in no way intended to replace or to insinuate in any way that students are not getting what they need from their colleges and universities. We have amazing institutions throughout our area that prepare amazing teachers. Our job is to supplement some of that information to provide our students, our future teachers, with additional learning specific to Wake County Public Schools, helping them to learn the mission, vision, values, really who is Wake County, helping them to transition from potentially a Wake County High School student to a Wake County Schools, teacher. Learning to navigate the district from a professional perspective, and also to learn from experts across the district, administrators, central services departments, anyone who can pour into them during our week-long professional learning conference. That conference is a week long. It is held here at our Human Resources building for that week. It's always the 3rd week in May. And those sessions allow us to help students to learn more about current initiatives and trainings that will help to give them a head start on their career here with Wake County Public Schools when they become a teacher with our district. We recognize that taking a week out of your summer, I know colleges define summer starting in May, still spring for me, but for colleges, May is part of the summer. And so we do offer stipends for participation in that week-long required conference that I just mentioned to you. You'll see that those stipends are differentiated between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th years of participation. And that was an intentional decision when the program was developed, because typically between year 2 and 3, that's sophomore, junior year, that's the time that students declare their official major and are admitted into their schools of education at their colleges and universities. And so we know that by the time a student is in their junior year, they have been immersed in what it will be like to be a teacher to the degree that anyone can be until they're in the classroom. And so we know that there's a real commitment and dedication there, and that they are admitted into their major by that point. And so that is the reason for the differentiated stipends between the first 2 and the second 2 years of participation. So ultimately, students can receive up to $3,000 over a 4-year period. So it's not a scholarship, but it is a participation stipend that recognizes students' attendance and full participation in the annual professional learning conference. So I've shared with you a bit of information about the benefits of being a future teacher. There, of course, are some expectations that the district has of our future teachers, and I want to be upfront and very transparent about what those things are. I've mentioned this already, but I'll say it directly here based on the slide as well. We do expect future teachers to participate in an annual professional learning conference. It is always held the third week of May. And that it begins the May following the freshman year. So to clarify that just a bit, if you're a high school student graduating in 2022, you would attend your first Future Teachers Conference in May of 2023. Nothing is expected of our high school graduates in the year that they are transitioning from high school to college. So you would attend following their freshman year of college through the May of your senior year of college for a total of 4 conferences during that 4-year period of time that you're in your undergraduate program. Students are expected to keep our office informed if they make changes in their majors, their licensure area, the college or university that they attend. And we do expect that they keep us updated on their progress toward their graduation, completion of their teacher education program, and their eligibility for their North Carolina teaching license. Future teachers are expected to complete that teacher education program to graduate eligible for a North Carolina teaching license. And that does mean that they are held to all of the certification exam requirements that the state of North Carolina currently has in place to be eligible for the teaching license. And then, of course, future teachers, as any applicant would need to satisfy the criteria of hire within the Wake County Public School System. And let me give you just a bit of information of when I say the hiring criteria. Some of the things that are necessary for hire in our district for any applicant, nothing different for a future teacher than any other prospective applicant, a completed application, professional references, licensure eligibility, because this is a certified teaching position, so the certification exams that I alluded to a moment ago, a criminal record check, and a full review of that application and those various pieces and supplemental documents associated with the application. Again, the same requirements for a future teacher as any other applicant for a teaching position within our district. We do ask that future teachers, upon completion of their college teacher education programs, and by that same term, completion of the Wake County Schools Future Teachers program, that they commit to teaching with the district for 3 years. And while we certainly don't want to encourage students to leave us sooner, or teachers to leave us sooner than 3 years, that is not something that should deter anyone from participating. The example that I always use when I'm talking to students is, if you fall madly in love and move to Aruba, we're not coming to Aruba to find you. We will be sad that you leave us, but you will have fulfilled the contract that you currently have. And so while it is a request and an encouragement and something we hope our future teachers will do, commit to those 3 years, it's not something that there is no flexibility with. I hope by now I piqued a little bit of interest with some of our students that are with us this evening, and perhaps caregivers or parents that have joined us on behalf of their student, to wanting to apply to the Future Teachers program. And so let's take just a brief look at what the application and selection process involves. First of all, participation is based upon an application and selection process. On average, our previous cohorts have been about 20 to 25 students, give or take. We have 7 cohorts that have been selected thus far. We will be selecting cohort 8, spring of 2022. More to come about that. And while there's no formal maximum number of students that can be selected for each cohort of the Future Teachers program, my personal ideal number would be somewhere between 40 and 50. So we are looking to grow the program. That's one takeaway I hope that you'll have this evening. 40 or 50 seems to me like a really good number to be able to make an impact on our hiring needs, but also small enough that we can maintain the integrity of the cohort model, and so that our team, myself, our human resources staff, others in the district, can really get to know who our students are. If you get too much larger, I think, than 50, you perhaps start to lose some of that intimacy and the integrity of the cohort model. One other takeaway I hope you will have from our conversation this evening is that students are not in competition with one another. We are selecting the students based upon their potential to be exemplary Wake County Schools educators, and in short, they're not competing for a limited number of spots. So it's not a competition between students. The application process includes 3 components. The first is an application cover sheet where students provide us some basic information. We're going to look at that together here in just a moment. Students also do submit a resume, and a template is provided, particularly for our high school applicants who perhaps have not had to develop a resume previously. And then we do ask for 2 confidential references. Those are collected via a Google form that the applicant would share the link for that form to the 2 adults, one of whom should be a teacher, who can speak to their potential to be a successful Wake County Schools educator. And Dr. Brierton, I'm going to call on you, if you don't mind, on the next slide. If you do not mind clicking on the link for us there, it will take you to our Future Teachers page. If you haven't visited there already, I did want to take just a moment so that you can see that. And Sarah, if you would be kind enough to scroll down for me. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. There we are, Future Teachers application materials. And because I know the bulk of our attendees tonight or potential applicants are our high school seniors, Sarah, if you would be kind enough to click on that link for us. And even though this may be small, at least I want you to have a sense for what the cover sheet itself looks like. This is the instructions for the application. And Sarah, if I can ask you to click one more time on the application cover sheet, the first bullet that's on that particular web page. Okay. And you can see that the information that we ask for and the collegiate application cover sheet is very, very similar. It asks for basic information about the student so that we're able to contact him or her. It does ask for the high school that they currently attend. They're a Wake County High School student, not a college student. The college or university that the student intends to attend, and then the subject that they plan to teach: elementary, social studies, math, science, that kind of thing. And then there's just a signature piece that students can sign electronically. So when I say the application cover sheet, that is the document that I'm referring to. And Sarah, if you can find all those tabs, you can back out of everything, I think, at this point. We will also be providing, there's a link for a resume template that students can use, as I alluded to before. And then the link is also provided for the reference form that students will provide to the 2 people they select to serve as their confidential references. And Sarah, I'm okay for the next slide. We are, as I mentioned earlier, in the process of beginning to collect applications for cohort 8 of the Future Teachers program. The application window opened on February 1st. We will continue to collect applications through April 15th, and we will commit to making decisions about our newly selected future teachers no later than May 13th. We would make those decisions and have communicated to those students those selection decisions by that time. Any applicant who applies by April 15th and who meets the program eligibility requirements. And those requirements, just as a quick reminder back to a couple of our earlier slides, would be seeking licensure in one of our 10 identified areas, being a Wake County Schools high school senior who's graduating this year and going into education, or is currently an education major in their freshman or sophomore year at one of our local colleges and universities, those that were on the slide that we looked at earlier. Those would be the people who would meet the eligibility requirements. Anyone who submits that application meets those requirements will be scheduled for an interview with our Future Teachers Selection Committee. Those interviews, our goal is to hold those in person this year. We've done virtual interviews the last couple of years, but are fortunate to be able to host those in person again. They will be held in Crossroads in Cary, our human resources offices. They'll be scheduled in the afternoons, of course, once the high school day has ended, so that students are not missing, of course, school to come and interview for future teachers. The selection committee, I think it's important for you to know, we're in the process of developing those committees now as well. These committees will be comprised of Wake County School staff from various departments across the district. And it is our goal to maximize the diversity of these committees, so that the diversity of the experiences that our interviewers provide, their perspectives that they provide, we want to make sure that we are reflective of the students that we will be interviewing, and that we include voices from various perspectives when completing those interviews. We focus on the potential for the student to be a successful Wake County Schools educator. We understand very clearly that we're asking our high school students to make this commitment and make this decision at some of them 17, 18 years of age. And so we are looking, of course, not for candidates that have necessarily all the right answers. They're not supposed to know how to be teachers at this point. And so students, if you're listening, I want to make sure that's very clear. We will be interviewing, looking at references, looking at the application information that you share with us, talking with you through that interview process to get a sense for your heart for teaching, your commitment to being a teacher with our district, and just the potential to be successful here as a Wake County school student. We use a preset set of questions. There is an interview scoring rubric to try to make the selection process as consistent and objective as we possibly can. And again, I will just reiterate that the interviews are not a competition. We're listening and looking at each student individually throughout this process. Our next slide is a quick timeline. I've mentioned all of these dates, I think, as we've gone through our slides this evening, but I think it may be helpful to have it in one common place. I mentioned that the application window did open February 1st, and then it will remain open through 5 o'clock on April 15th. We'll be hosting interviews in April and May, making selection decisions and notifying students of those decisions by May 13th. And then we will be hosting a signing day, a future teacher signing day on May 26th. And the next couple of slides are going to give you just a quick glimpse into that future teachers signing day. We're going to touch briefly on what we think is a really special event that we held last year for the first time. Applicants who are selected to be future teachers will be invited, along with their parents and or caregivers, to join us for a celebration, a reception on May 26th. It is a great time to celebrate their accomplishments, and we want to make sure that our future teachers, they feel important, they feel special, and they feel completely and fully embraced by Wake County Public School System. We want to really capitalize on the fact that our high school students, these are our students, and that they are invested in returning to this district. And there's something just really special, I think, about working in a district that raised you for at least part, if not all, of your educational journey as a K-12 student. That evening also allows us an opportunity to sign the early hire agreement that I mentioned to you previously, as well as some of the other paperwork that is required by our finance department, because, as I told you earlier, there's some stipends associated with our professional learning conference each year. So there is some paperwork that is associated with being in the program. And we just look forward to welcoming our new future teachers, cohort 8 of the Future Teachers program. I have provided in our slides my contact information, and you can certainly email me if you have questions after this evening. Certainly as those arise, email me at futureteachers@wcpss.net. And I always like to make sure that you know that not providing my personal email is not an attempt to ignore your question or to not be found. In fact, just the opposite. Future Teachers is one of 5 different programs that I manage for our district. And so I know that when I visit that Future Teachers email account, I'm going to be responding to questions and sharing information specific to future teachers. So it helps me to stay organized and hopefully helps you to get the information that you need in a very timely, accurate, and effective manner. So definitely feel free to reach out. Students, if you do apply and are selected for Future Teachers, this email address is the primary means of communication between our office and you throughout your college career. And it is also the email address where you'll be submitting your application by April 15th for consideration for participation in cohort 8 of our Future Teachers. Perhaps my next slide is the most important of everything that we've done, and that simply is to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Thank you for learning more about our Future Teachers program. Thank you, students and potentially parents and caregivers, for being interested in your student, your child, being part of the Future Teachers program. Please know that if at this point you've received all of the information that you needed, please get on with the rest of your evening. However, if you do have remaining questions, if there are things in our chat, Sarah and I will take some time and work through those for the next, looks like about 12 minutes. If you have what you need, feel free, enjoy your Thursday evening. If you have some questions, hang around. We'll be here for another 12 minutes or until all the questions have been successfully answered. Thank you so much again for being here. Have a wonderful evening, students. I look forward to receiving your applications soon. Take care.
All right, I'm scrolling through the chat here. Have a question about Wake Tech students. And I'm guessing eligibility as a Wake Tech student.
Absolutely. We do, if we have high school applicants that are going to be going to Wake Tech initially and then transferring to one of the four-year colleges or universities, a high school student who plans to start their educational journey in college at Wake Tech would be eligible to apply. Students that are already college students at Wake Tech is not one of the colleges and universities that are currently considered for participation.
Next question, would a music education major qualify?
Full transparency, my teaching background is music education, but unfortunately that is not one of the high needs areas in our district, and it is not currently included as one of the licensure areas for future teachers. It is the 10 specific areas that were listed on one of our earlier slides. That doesn't make what you do unimportant, and it doesn't make you ineligible for hire. And hang on to my contact information. I am happy to work with you. I don't know if it's a parent or a student, but whomever, I would be more than happy to work with you, get connected with you and support you through your journey in any way that I can, even if you're not part of our Future Teachers program. Thank you for what you do.
Another eligibility question. My son is a math ed major at ECU. Mm-hmm. Would he be able to apply?
He would not. It is the colleges and universities that are in our local area, and that does not include ECU. Also, I'm an alum of ECU. So you all, it's like you know me. You're asking questions that are personal to me.
Would you still be required to teach in WCPSS if your college has lined you up with a job post-graduation?
The purpose of Future Teachers, yes, is to hire teachers for the Wake County Public School System. So that would be a question for your college and university, I think, because it would be the district's expectation that upon completion of your teaching degree, that you do seek employment with Wake County Public Schools within those 5 years.
Okay. I did early graduation. Am I still allowed to apply?
If you are a freshman or sophomore at one of the identified colleges and universities, then you would be eligible to apply.
I'm a freshman at Campbell University with the elementary ed major. I graduated from Wake County. Would I be able to apply?
Campbell is not one of our local universities that's currently included for consideration for the program.
If a student attends a college that has Maymester classes, should they not apply, as annual learning conference is always the third week of May?
That is something that we could look at on an individual basis. I don't want it to keep you from applying.
Next question. Do they need to attend college in North Carolina? Does the college have to have a licensure program, or can it just have an ed major / minor?
Gotcha. I'll take that in two separate parts. It is not necessary for a student to attend a college in North Carolina. Most of our future teachers do, but it's not required. As long as, and this gets, I think, to the second portion of that question, as long as the program will lead the student to eligibility for licensure in the state of North Carolina in one of those 10 identified licensure areas, then that college would be an appropriate college for them to attend.
The next question is also about NC schools, but I think you just answered that. Will the presentation slides be provided elsewhere?
Yes, communications will be working with them to get the slides and the video of tonight's session posted on our website very soon.
The application asked why we want to be a teacher. How long should that answer be?
I think that is up to the individual. We want your reason. And so whatever you feel led to share, we are excited to find out about.
All right, now I'm scrolling through some lovely thank yous.
You're welcome, and thank you.
What if a Wake Tech student is graduating and is transferring to NC State?
If you would be considered a freshman or a sophomore in the educator preparation program, then you would be eligible to apply. If, however, you are a junior or senior by state's standards, then unfortunately you would not be eligible to apply. For future teachers, definitely eligible to apply for employment with our district. Please do.
What if we attend NCA&T? Are we still allowed to apply?
Application for freshmen and sophomore education majors is restricted to the local colleges that we discussed earlier.
Okay. If anyone has a bachelor's degree, I think it's supposed to say, do they need to write the praxis to become a teacher? I think I would just
if I'm understanding that question correctly, it is a licensure related question. And the best resource for licensure information would be the website for the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and or our Human Resources Department does have a licensure team, and their email address, I believe, is licensurequestions@wcpss.net.
Okay, here's another. If you go through the program but end up teaching in a different state or district, do you have to pay back the stipends?
You do not, and I thank you for asking that question. I should have shared that in my presentation earlier. The stipend is earned for participation in the conference, and there's no expectation that stipend be paid back in any way. It's money that you've earned and money that is yours to keep.
I am a senior right now. May I still apply? Sorry, I'm a senior right now, but I'm planning on going to a college that's not on the list. Can I still apply?
Yes. If you are a Wake County High School graduating senior, you are eligible to apply regardless of the college where you plan to attend school.
I believe I understood you to say that you could still major in a 4-year degree and then a 1-year master in ed and still qualify. Is that correct?
Your undergraduate program would need to be an education preparation program. For instance, we have students that are elementary education majors who are going to complete their elementary education degree in May of this year. And rather than seeking employment with us immediately for the 22-23 school year, they are going into a master's program to get a master's in elementary education. But your undergraduate degree does have to lead to teacher licensure. So you couldn't get a degree in an undergrad in business and then get a master's degree in education. The initial undergraduate degree, the expectation is that it's an educator preparation program that leads to licensure eligibility in the state of North Carolina.
And then actually Kelly had a follow-up question. She was the one who asked the one you just answered, but you've answered her follow-up with your question. And that appears to be all of the questions in the chat. Feel free if anyone else has a question to just go ahead and come off of mute or